Robert, here at Orsett Hall today with the what is known as the new Thames crossing proposals. What is the purpose, for you, what is the purpose of today?
So the public events that we're starting today are about engaging with the local community to understand their views about what we think are some really, really important proposals for a new Lower Thames crossing. We've launched our consultation last week for a new crossing of the Thames between Kent and Essex, crossing and joining the M2 in the south to the M25 in the north. And we have put forward a scheme which we think would be hugely beneficial to the economy, would improve journeys, would enable new jobs, but obviously we want to understand and hear people's views. So this is about giving people the opportunity to ask us questions, for us to present our proposals and to set out why we think this is the most appropriate solution to the need for a new Thames crossing.
You've been in the room for quite a while now. What are there any typical questions, or what questions have come up so far?
So of course, a lot of questions are people being concerned about the impact on their property, the impact on their health, the impact on the communities that they live in. And this is an important part of the process that we want to go through to understand those questions, what people's views are. We've also had people here from businesses, big businesses and small local enterprises who have suffered from years of congestion, who want to understand how these kinds of proposals might improve business and trade in the area. We have had people who are just interested in the proposal and are supportive of our proposals because they recognise the kind of effects that the investment in this kind of infrastructure would bring, and that they feel is they feel is needed. So a huge range of views from people, which, as I say, we're really keen to engage with. We've brought a team of more than 10 people here. We've set out all our plans in the room. We've set out documents that explain the scheme, and the range of questions that you can get, of course, covers a vast range of subjects that we've had to look at in a lot of detail. And this is really our opportunity to then open the doors, if you like, and explain to people, how we have come up with the scheme that we've come up with.
Last Wednesday morning, people in roads such as Blue Anchor Lane, Heath Road, Woolings Close, Stifford Clays Road received a letter. Some people in houses that are 300 years old, some people in houses that are 8 months old received a letter with these words, we may need your property.
Yes.
Was there any way you could have avoided that occurring? That is to say, was any legal reason that this had to come out as a bolt out of the blue for these people?
So we understand that people will have been perhaps taken a little bit by surprise by receiving a letter. But what we have been doing is setting out our proposals in public forum, at public events, and what we wanted to be able to do was to give people a fair warning and fair opportunity to understand that it might have a direct impact on their properties, on their livelihoods. We could have taken choices to just allow people to find out, but we don't think that's the fair and transparent thing to do.
But sorry to interrupt, but they did find out, like a bolt. Is there any way you could have avoided that? Was there any? Do you not think you had a moral duty for these people to find out a different way? I don't know if you could or not. Because it's such a shock to people. It's their land, and whether you're in the wild west of the 19th century, saying the railroad are coming through, or Thurrock in 2016, is there not some moral duty to soften that blow?
So we have obviously followed a process with Highways England and with government in order to develop our schemes to a certain level of maturity to understand where our routes might affect people's property and where they do affect people's property, to try and limit that impact as far as possible. What I would say to those people is we have spent a lot of time over the last 18 months making sure that we have been careful to identify, as far as possible, the right properties that might be affected, and we've reached a level of maturity where we can now present those proposals. We wouldn't have been helping people if we tried to give them warning earlier, because we might well have informed people who weren't going to be affected. And I would like to point out that, of course, nothing is yet decided. This is an opportunity to consult on these proposals, and there are different choices to be made, and that's why we want to hear people's views. But we have tried to engage with people in a way that we felt was fair and reasonable. There are a number of ways that we could do that. We have, of course, a limited amount of resources, and we felt that writing a letter to people on the day that we were launching this consultation, or the day after that we launched the consultation, was a reasonable and fair way to present those proposals to people. But of course, I understand that people will come as a shock. This is the start of a conversation. This is not the end of a conversation. We want to engage with people. We understand people. That's why we're running 24 events over the next 5-6 weeks, so that people can come and talk to us about what we are proposing to do and what effects that might have, and how we might work with them in the future to minimise those effects.
24 events over this period. After the 24 events, what happens then? When I guess for people of Thurrock, when will they hear? When will they get that final decision?
Sure. We're running this consultation for 8 weeks. It closes on the 24th of March. At that point, we will have received obviously a large number of responses, not only from Thurrock, but from people affected along the whole of the route, and from businesses around the UK. There are many millions of people who use this crossing who are equally affected by future proposals to improve this infrastructure. So we will undoubtedly have a lot of responses to deal with. We've employed Ipsos Mori, an independent independent survey company, to gather those responses for us, to prepare an independent consultation report, and that report, along with our own recommendations, will be sent to government. We anticipate being able to send those documents to the government sometime in the summer, and we expect government to make a decision sometime during this year in terms of whether it wants to proceed with this scheme. So we won't know precisely, but we do know that there is a willingness and a consensus within government to want to solve this problem. So we do want to get on and solve this problem to alleviate what are some really important impacts in terms of the traffic and congestion around the Thurrock and Dartford area.
Just a couple of further questions. When you say that problem, last Thursday was, as we call him, Carmageddon around Dartford crossing, etc. So I'm a simple man. Does that mean that if you had another crossing, that would have solved that problem?
One of the really important things about our proposal that we're setting out is that it would create, by creating a new crossing at what's known as location C, east of Gravesend and Tilbury, would create an alternative to the existing crossing. If there is a Carmageddon, as you call it, as we had at the end of last week, what we find is that you effectively have gridlock on the roads around it. The effect of it fans out across a huge area, affects tens of thousands of people's lives, really locking them into their businesses, into their homes. We have stories of businesses shutting up shops, literally stopping business when those kinds of incidents occur, and we just don't think that's the appropriate way to deal with things. By creating an alternative, what we do is we hopefully allow those kinds of situations to be alleviated much more quickly. The current situation is you either have to wait it out, you can go via Blackwall, but that's a 30-mile round trip and not all vehicles can go through the Blackwall tunnel, or if you're feeling really brave, you can take a 100-mile detour around the M25. So we don't think any of those are appropriate solutions to the problem, and we think that by building additional capacity at location C gives us the best opportunity to increase the resilience of the network, to allow people to escape from those kind of situations more quickly. And our analysis shows that indeed we would get a better response if we put in a new location, crossing at that location.
Finally, what is your message to the people, and this may be difficult to answer, to the people who this Sunday are going to have a protest meeting in the village hall here and at other halls around in Thurrock? Are they wasting their time?
Not at all. We recognise that there will be people who want to express their views, who want to explain to the rest of the world why they don't think we should be developing this scheme. That, of course, is their right, and we are trying to respond to the inquiries that we're getting and the concerns that they have by holding these public information events, by holding a public consultation, so that we can hear and understand those views. Ultimately, Highways England was asked to come up with a solution to some quite intractable congestion problems in the M25 A282 Dartford crossing area. We have put forward those proposals, but it is for government to then decide whether to proceed with that scheme, and it would make sense in my mind to say to those people, we hear you, we are listening to your concerns, we are trying to play those back along with the other things that we're charged with doing, which is trying to help the UK economy, trying to improve prospects for jobs and opportunities in the future by solving this particular infrastructure problem. But those voices must be heard, and they can be heard through this public consultation, of course.
Well, thank you very much for your time.